Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Neil Murray and Tam Cowan here with me on this Tuesday. We're delighted you could join us and thank you for your support, especially over the last month. The figures have been absolutely superb, and as ever on the programme, all we ask you to do is hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and you'll get all the notifications of our unique video content. And over and above that, can I just say, and I think, Ruffy, it's only right and proper we do say it, we do welcome everybody to watch the show, but if there are people who don't like opinion or don't want us to maybe fire out a few home truths and they want just very, very pro fanzine type, club type television, we're big fans of that. We suggest to them, go to your own club and listen to everything in the garden is rosy. Is that fair?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I think most of the people we watch it, so we're just giving an honest opinion. I don't think I'm biased towards anybody. Yeah. I don't think Neil is or Tam. Well, maybe Tam a wee bit more. I'm only saying that for the barrage of abuse that's been fired out after yesterday. I always suggest to people, go to club football channels if you genuinely go to club football channels if you want everything in the garden is rosy and no criticism. It's the best way to look at it. I think there's room for everybody, Tam, isn't there?
Exactly, and because I've got a speaking gig this Friday night in Larkhall, can I just say I don't think it even was a penalty.
By the way, we're all happy with that type of thing. Ruffy's done that before. So we've got lots to talk about, but we welcome you if you are of sane mind and obviously want to chat about football in your club. Sometimes the opinion you don't like, sometimes you do. That's the joy of football. And certainly the joy of this programme anyway, where we'll get lots of unique video content from all walks of the game. It doesn't matter what colour it is, we try and interview as many legends and present players as possible and give you as much entertainment as we possibly can. So hit the subscribe button. We'll be delighted to also relay some of your messages on our feed today. So, lots to talk about. It's a strange little build up to the weekend, and we'll look back over last weekend and get your guys' thoughts on it as well. But first and foremost, I think of the things that we are going to talk about, the PFA Team of the Year has been revealed. So we thought we'd make our question about the PFA Team of the Year. And here's the quiz question. Name the Motherwell players last included in the PFA Scotland Team of the Year. I think it might have been 2013. 4 Motherwell players were in it. So it was a good year that year for you.
It was a very good year, yes, that's it. And I can remember the high scoring gentleman who a bit like didn't hit quite as many goals as Kevin Van Veen's got this season, but yep, he had a magnificent season, and you actually made me forget that we actually had 4 that were picked in it that year. Yeah. I was only thinking of the guy who should have been centre forward in it. Yeah. I won't give it away.
Okay, if you can, give us your thoughts on who the 4 players that were included in the Team of the Year. I think back in 2013, Motherwell had 4 players in that side, and Neil, it's 2 Rangers players, 7 Celtic players, 1 each from Aberdeen and Motherwell in this one. Have a look and see what you think of it. It's Hart, Carter Vickers, Taylor, Starfelt, McGregor, Hatate and Kyogo. From Rangers it's Tavernier and Tillman. From Motherwell it's Kevin Van Veen, as Tam alluded to, and Duke of Aberdeen makes up that starting 11. It's the first Motherwell player obviously in 10 years to make it.
I find it's hard to argue with any of those players, to be quite honest. You know, the last Rangers Celtic game, we're talking about how good Carter Vickers and Starfelt were at defending their box, you know, and they're rightly in the Team of the Year. Hatate, McGregor, likewise, the consistency they've shown. Kyogo, yeah, you'd say he's the best striker in the country. Duke has caught the eye. You know, Van Veen deserves to be there playing in a bottom 6 club and scoring so many goals. And okay, Tavernier's played a lot of games and scored a lot of goals for Rangers this year. Tillman's chipped in with some goals. You know, you might argue 1 or 2 players, but I think the vast majority they're nailed on to be in the Team of the Year.
Yeah. Any arguments, Robby?
No, I don't think so. I was going to try and challenge the Hart one, but nobody's jumped out at me and saying they've had a better season. I think Hart has had a good season. No, not a fantastic season. Yeah. You know,
But no, there's no other goalkeeper. The Aberdeen goalkeeper, I think, has had a good season when he's taken over for Joe Lewis. But apart from that, I don't think there's anything debatable.
Yeah, can I ask you this, Tam? The one thing that you always like to point out, and I think this is sometimes where we get it in the neck, is, and I always mention this with regards to the players as well, this is the PFA Player of the Year Awards this Sunday. The players and the managers pick the awards.
Yep, wasn't the pundits that chose it, wasn't the journalists, it wasn't Andy Walker, Hugh Keevans, Chris Sutton, Ali McCoy, so it was none of them, it was the guys who play against each other all week. So even when Ruffy's saying there's no arguments here, there shouldn't be any argument. There can be opinion, and there's already a lot of folk, what have I read so far today, the Celtic fans of course saying maybe O'Reilly in there instead of Tillman. That is all about opinion, and of course the Celtic fans, I've had one saying to me directly Jota and instead of Van Veen, but it's there's no point in even raising your voice on this. It was those guys who play, and we all go and watch them week in, week out, who picked what they think is their best team.
Well, they picked it, but what about your opinion on their selections? Would you tweak anyone?
With a tweak in, I think Duke for me goes down too easily, in and around the box. Particularly if there's a Rangers player at his back. I'm just winding you up.
Really
no, I think Duke's been absolute dynamite. I mean, you kind of think it between him and Barry Robson, and dare I say it, Alan Burrows, totally revitalised Aberdeen's season. He's been sensational. And as I said to you many a time in this show, Peter, I always judge players by how I feel when I see them running out the tunnel at Fir Park to play against Motherwell. And if you see Duke now, I'm going to think, good chance he's going to score a goal, So he's quite fearsome now. So yeah, I can't really argue.
What were you like when Neil ran it?
He wouldn't have been saying that when I crossed in from McCroie's team. Post for one.
It's always good to remember them, Neil. It's always good.
I was not thinking, is this an end of season game already? It's good that they're getting some of these boys a try. But no, Neil was a very solid player back in his day. Yes, absolutely. At an era when, as everybody says, that's always my argument with, if I can go off at a slight tangent here, that was always my argument when the big man who tried to microwave the egg, what's the boy's name?
Kurt Broadfoot.
Kurt Broadfoot, right. When I get the call for Kurt Broadfoot when he was in international duty, right, he was out there on international duty, and I get the call, and it was the old thing, Peter, as you know only too well, the columnists, writers, whatever, you don't write the headlines yourself.
Yes.
So if the headline had been that day about Kurt Broadfoot, some crawler in the Scotland camp gave him my number, and I got a phone call, it was into the BBC, I was sitting at my desk, and it was like, what are you going to go at me for, Tam? And it was a wee slight threatening undertones, and I was a wee bit astonished at this, because on the radio the previous week and for weeks before that, and in the newspapers, I'd actually, when everybody had been slagging this guy, I was standing up for him because he'd come from St Mirren and he'd gone to Rangers and he was representing his country, and I thought, this is magnificent. I know a lot of folk going about him, he's a big haddy, he's a big donkey and all that. I says, but fair play to the boy, and imagine how his family must feel. No, I'd written this, I'd said it in the radio, so after this call I thought, to hell with this. So I got my producer to get some cuts for previous shows where I was waxing lyrical about the guy, and they put them onto a CD, right? And I got cuttings out the papers when there'd be, and I put them in an envelope, Kurt Broadfoot, care of Ibrox, Govan, and never heard anything back. And I would have liked him to address that and say that.
Well, what did you say upset him?
It was just because it was just been a joke, but apparently what had upset him was they'd gone in with both feet in the headline. And it's never ever the columnists or the journalists that write the headlines.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say to you, Ruffy, and this is probably very, very true of this show at times, because haters will always hate, and if they've got a preconception of Neil or me or you or Tam, it doesn't matter what you say, they only have selective hearing on certain things, and then they just extract it and think, right, that's it, away you go, and then they take their own bias and prejudice out on everyone. But with this one, the great thing about the team of the season is the players pick it. So when we get to that point, the players also pick the player of the year, and as you and I know, the best one ever was the manager of the year, and they announced Mick Supatalainen. And Lenny is sitting at the table. I think he'd won the treble, and he says, "You're having a." It wasn't one of those Oscar moments. I've lost the Oscar, but well done, Robert De Niro. It was like,
wait a minute.
Really?
No, I'm going to come from the other angle here, because I've had this argument for years and years and years. When it comes to the manager of the year, part of that, the core part of the word manager is manage. Somebody that's had to manage.
Yes.
Somebody that's not got the best players at his disposal. Somebody that's not got any money at his disposal. You know, unlike somebody.
your perception
I
of
know
it.
about a manager of the year.
Yeah.
I'm not quite getting down the road. I mean, you used to get the old argument that, you know, during, let's say, the Walter Smith 9 in a row times at Rangers. Oh, my granny could manage Rangers. Then you go to way like Brendan Rodgers, the Invincible. Oh, my granny could manage Celtic. Okay, that's a bit ridiculous, but we know there's a scintilla of truth in that.
There are pundits and former English players down in England who say they could manage Celtic and Rangers and win the league. So it's not just punters on it, but I think when you look at it, the managers look at it and say to themselves, right, it's not winning manager of the year.
Was it Mixer that won it? Was it not John Yogi Hughes? I think you're getting mixed up.
No, I think it was Mixer. Was it?
I thought it was Mixer.
No, I thought the year that Neil Lennon, in terms of the shows your medals, the year that Neil Lennon should have won it, I'm sure it was big John Yogi Hughes that got it.
It may well have been Tam. I mean, I was there. I can't remember either.
But you know what I mean? No argument there is, Neil. Somebody's had to manage, you know, and that's why, you know. I again know the same thing, but there's talk now. Motherwell fans certainly are saying that for the actual player of the year, forget the players' vote. Oh, Kevin Van Veen, he must be in with a shout to get 25 goals with a team who Motherwell diehards thought were on course for relegation, and he's able to score that. How many goals would he score if he got all the chances that Kyogo gets? If he got all the chances that are laid on at Rangers, you know?
But to be honest with you, Tam, he's going to win Motherwell's Player of the Year. I don't know if you saw the highlights at the weekend, Neil, but his drag out of the air for his goal was absolutely top drawer.
Well, you know, this is the thing. I think he's getting better and better as the season's going on, and the strikers often do. The confidence players, and when they score more goals, they've got that belief in themselves, and they can do what they like inside the box and run about the box. But get back to your point about the managers. You know, are there many managers that last a full season these days?
Well, what do we do now? Longest manager of the year.
but to take Tam's point, you know, maybe. Like if David Martindale had managed to get Livingston into fourth in a European spot, then you've got to say, right, limited resources, is he the manager of the year? You know, then it becomes a topic of conversation. But I think in this instance, when Celtic win a treble and they're a convincing team, it's kind of hard to see past.
I'll tell you what though, when you're saying about Van Veen, and you did mention his goal, of course, last week, it was absolutely astonishing. I mean, as I say, he should have been awarded with the assist himself, you know what I mean, in the publications and online when they mention who gets an assist, it should have been himself, not for that first touch, you know, it was absolutely sublime, and then a great finish. But from a Motherwell fans' point of view, brilliant timing, because we do know that he is going to leave the club. He's got that year left in his contract. It means we will get money. So facing the inevitable, ta-ta Kevin, for him to score that goal, beautifully caught on camera, of course, for the world to see, and then be named by his peers in the team of the year. That can't do him any harm in terms of the price tag around his neck.
You know, clubs like Motherwell need that one player sometimes that moves on. I'm not suggesting for a minute he's going to be another David Turnbull, $3.5 million. He's 31. He might be, who knows? I wouldn't like to put a figure on it, but any kind of welcome money for Motherwell will be a real shot in the arm for the summer for their building.
Yeah, but I think Tam would agree. I think they'd want to try and keep him. You know, I mean, I don't know much resources.
Stuff though,
I know, but I mean, I don't know what he's on. I don't know the wages that they're on. I don't know the clubs that are after him, the wages they're offering them. But you would have thought if what he's done for Motherwell, you would think the people at Motherwell would do their utmost. I'm not saying they'll get him, but they have to make an effort.
Did you
to
listen to what he said last week? Did you listen to what he said last week?
What did he say last week?
He said he'll be off to Aberdeen. Did you listen?
No.
Right, two things. Two other things about what I may have said last week. First up, I did mention that I'd heard that he'd given up his rented property
Yes.
in Uddingston.
Yes.
That is true. The second thing that I said about me having heard a whisper,
Yes.
it was from a former Motherwell employee, who imparted that information on to me at a social event, right? And I was merely passing it on here. And the reason I mentioned it was just for the wee giggle and the idea of Alan Burrows paying £50 million for him so that his beloved Motherwell are well stoked up financially for next season. That was all.
Yeah, but realistically, he's going to move on. Motherwell are not going to put the money out for him to keep him.
Well, I don't know what clubs are after him. I don't know what he's... I mean, if
Ruffy,
he's
you know
going
the scenario
to
would be?
Aberdeen or Hibs or Hearts...
It wouldn't be a bad move, would it?
No, well, I think Aberdeen's two are quite good now, and they're talking about not letting them go. They're talking
Yeah, no,
about
that's a good
hanging on
point.
to
But I think
them, so-
Aberdeen are stronger than Motherwell financially.
Oh, yeah, you would think so, yeah. But,
Aye,
I mean,
if we get the money, then great, right? It's
well,
on the cards.
I wish
you know.
we had Charlie Adams here to get a price on him. What are we talking about for Van Veen?
For Van Veen, I think...
For a Scottish club. For a Scottish,
a Scottish club to buy him. I think Charlie's... we'll speak to Charlie on Sunday, by the way, but I think Charlie would probably say somewhere between 500 and a million. 500.
He's been happy with that.
I think
If a Scottish club bought him, I could see him going for about 650,000, and that would be with Motherwell really standing for him. And again, it would break my heart to see him. You hate that if one of your top guys goes to another team and talking earlier about who runs out the tunnel, and you see him in a different jersey and he scores against you, whatever, scores one like that at the weekend. Absolutely heartbreaking stuff. But you need to be realistic. As for him staying at Motherwell, if the conversation hasn't already taken place in the boardroom, I'm sure it will be happening imminently, where the board will sit there with him and his representative and will say, look, this is the best we can offer you. This is any chance, and he'll do well not to burst out laughing, to be honest with you. So he's going to go, and I just hope that we are remunerated properly.
Yes, I don't think anybody would disagree with that, Tam. Okay, there's lots of players that have been commenting over the last couple of days on results that have happened, and looking obviously towards the end of the season and possibly next season as well. Certainly from a Celtic perspective, Greg Taylor believes there's still more to come from this Celtic side as they not only prepare for the weekend at Ibrox against Rangers, now as champions, but they will go to Hampden on June 3rd to try and complete the treble with the match against Inverness.
We've not rested on what we did last year at all. We knew there was more in us, and there's still more to come. We want to improve going into next season, but most importantly we want to finish this season strongly first. We've got 4 league games and a cup final, so yeah, we've got more to look forward to.
There's a few records that they want to break, and I think sometimes, Neil, if there's an incentive when a team is on such a good run, the incentive going into the end of the season when all has been all but won apart from the Scottish Cup is to try and derail them. And the one thing I think the Rangers fans will be demanding on Sunday is a performance and a half. Saturday, beg your pardon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, a home game and the fans will demand nothing less.
Yeah.
I think the last game, they deserved to win it. They threw it away by giving away 2 cheap goals.
Yeah.
It would need a performance like that to get the victory, minus the obvious defensive errors, and hopefully you catch Celtic on a bad day as well.
What do you think about his selection? I think it's a major dilemma now. I don't think he's going to pick Morelos again. Kent, who knows? What does he do? Is he's caught between the devil and the deep blue sea here, because he's got to try and get a side that's capable of beating Celtic at home and satisfy the fans to give them enough hope to say things are looking good, as Todd Cantwell has mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, the nucleus, if you can call it that, of a team is there, in the sense that the back four's not really changed too much. If Yilmaz plays instead of Barisic, fair enough, he's made his decision at the weekend about the goalkeeper position. Does he change that back to McGregor for this game, or keep McCrorie? Who knows? Midfield, they seem to be reasonably settled now. The issues, I suppose, are, as you say, the Morelos and Kent situation with both leaving, then he has to potentially play a different winger, a different striker. Goalkeeper's a question mark, but by and large he's really only got a certain number of players that he kind of trusts at his disposal, you think, at this point?
I don't see Alan McGregor. Do you see Alan McGregor being in the goal at the weekend?
No, I think that decision he made at the weekend there was a decision, to give the boy a chance. They're obviously impressed with him. He's been there for a long, long time. They've got to give him a chance. I do think they'll bring somebody else in, but maybe Alan's identified, look, I'm going to retire. So, I know you want to say cheerio to the fans and all that, but there are ways to do it. He's got a testimonial. He can say cheerio to the fans then. He's been a great servant, but they have to look to the future.
The one question I've got about McCrorie, because people bring up McCrorie all the time about giving McCrorie a chance. If he's been at the club since he's 12, they must know if he's good enough or not.
Yeah.
He trains every day, he's been out on loan. You must know if he's good enough or not. What difference does it make if he plays 3 or 4 games?
Well, see if they buy Jack Butland. If McCrorie suddenly looks and John McLaughlin look at it and think, well, McGregor's going anyway, do I want to sit and not play regularly for the whole season? They've got a big call to make, and sometimes players make the call and say, well, I'm willing to, and I'm not criticising him for it, I'm willing to sit here as a number 2 and watch the new signing come in, and I'll take my wedge, and if I'm called on for the odd game, fine.
Well, it's the best job in the world, isn't it? English Premier League third choice goalie, rolling in cash and never play. But in Rangers' sense, John McLaughlin, by all accounts, has been told he can leave the club if he chooses to do so, and he might well do. And that would leave a choice from McCrorie. Does he want to sit there as second choice? Or does he want to go and find a home somewhere else? Or do Rangers want to bring in 2 goalkeepers? Who knows? There's a lot of decisions to be made by a lot of parties, I suppose, at Rangers this summer. Yeah,
and a lot of players who will be there obviously want to try and make sure that they're part of a successful side that's being built by Michael Beale. And how many players come in, who knows, we'll wait and see. He did say 12 the other week there, but Todd Cantwell certainly thinks there will be a real hunger to try and contest all 3 major domestic trophies. And of course, let's not forget, Rangers in the Champions League qualifiers.
In terms of recruitment and that as a player, it's kind of irrelevant because you've got a group of players in pre-season which are all fighting to be in the starting 11, and at the start of next season we've got everything to play for again. So the hunger in the dressing room is going to be real, and whoever comes in, whoever leaves, I think whoever's there playing for Rangers, it's important to know that you're fighting for your spot and fighting to win every game.
Well, I've been impressed with him, Ruffy. I like him as a player.
I've been impressed with him against the other teams in the league. I think he's very, very good. He's not done anything for me against Celtic, and that's the best team we've got in our league. So he's not really grabbed that kind of game by the scruff of the net. And the scruff of the net. Pick up that, did.
Yeah, I did.
He did. Just let it go. But no, he has got a lot of ability. But I've noticed when he's playing against the Aberdeens and the Hibs and the Hearts, he is playing in a more advanced player position. He's getting into goal scoring opportunity, and he's looked really, really good. Yeah. And sometimes some players come to England, take a wee while to settle. He hasn't taken a wee while, but he's not done a Hattati for me yet. He's not done, something at that level.
I thought he was the best player in the semi-final for Rangers.
Well, I think you can tell that he's done well, and that he's become a bit of a fan's favourite. The very fact that he was put up for that chat with the media there, because quite frankly, Rangers fans have heard it all before about, we'll be better next year. I think there's going to be silverware coming our way, and they would actually, instead of folk talking, they would like to see it come to fruition with a bit of action on the pitch. And it's a very, very strange time for Rangers. If they're talking about, is it 9 players they've got out of contract, so you're starting to think it's almost going to look like a new team next season. And you're thinking, right, okay, if you're a positive thinker and you're a Rangers fan, you're thinking then it's hopefully 9 guys that are going to come in who are better than 8 guys. But what if they're not? Because there's already that gulf between Celtic and Rangers this season. Of that there is no doubt. So I wasn't surprised to see it was Cantwell that came up, but all that stuff about we'll bounce back next week, we won't play that badly again. You hear it, after every defeat, whether it is Celtic or Rangers, and in recent seasons, of course, it's mainly been Rangers that have been suffering the defeats between the two of them. We're sick fed up. We know how it works in the media. All these promises.
One of the things that irritates me
better
is
next year.
Players coming out and saying we got the manager of the sack.
Exactly.
I'm sure that Stephen Hamill, as soon as it came out afterwards, I'm thinking,
Well, exactly.
I like his piece, that's the type of thing that happens.
I mean, that is one of the points.
He's laughing because he knows that's what players do, isn't it?
That is one of the points I'll be in front of die-hard Motherwell fans at the Player of the Year event. I can assure you that's one of the points I'll be putting to Mr. Van Veen as we celebrate his 25 goals and the great run of form that he's been on. And I will be asking him, what happened then during that period with Stevie Hamill?
Yeah.
Well, it's a similar thing for me. When you look at Aberdeen, you lose to Darvel, and now you're third, top of the table, quite hard to beat, and you fancy your chances winning every game. What changed? What's different? It's the same players, more or less.
Yeah, sometimes it's...
Incidentally, that was almost like the last game Darvel won. Darvel have apparently just imploded since then.
I know, but sometimes, and well, listen, quite a lot of times, there are managers. I give you Neil Warnock. They were gone, and he's got something out of them. Whether there's enough time for Sam Allardyce to get something out of them, I give you, Barry Robson at Aberdeen, Jim Goodwin. Something happens when you get a set of players who just respond to you, or you maybe the crux of it is you've got a good coach in there who's doing things differently and organising them better.
Yeah, if you get a good coach in there and you're enjoying the training, winning games makes it a lot easier. If you're winning games, because when you hear, when there's trouble in the camp and it's a new manager getting in, you hear players saying, he's got his training double. He's got his, and on a Sunday now he's doing this and he's doing that. A lot of players don't like that kind of thing, but see if you start winning games, you buy into anything that's thrown in front of you.
See, this is where there's a different mentality. So, like European teams, for example, double sessions every day.
Yeah.
Not even a question about it. Players don't complain and moan. If you did that in Scotland, I've got to pick the kids up at 3 from school.
Yeah.
Or got to go to the bookies. It is different. It's a different mentality.
Yeah.
And it's hard for managers to come here and try and change things.
Yeah, well, at least they don't have to go to the bookies now. But
none of them bet now.
If somebody said to me, by the way, you're in for 2 sessions and you're on $600,000 a week, I'm like, I think I'll stay for another session.
Exactly.
Listen,
it's going to be fascinating next year. See, we think about next season. The Celtic, will that still be the same kind of Celtic team with many comings or goings? Then this transitional period, as we say at Rangers, and then you're watching what can Aberdeen do when they get the full close season under Barry Robson, when Alan Burrows is really bedded into the club. It's just, I think it'll be, you can't wait already.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, this summer there's not going to be any World Cup or European Championship to keep us going.
I actually think Aberdeen have got a chance. Where you're
doing what?
Improving next year, because if they've got a nucleus of good players and they keep them and you add 2 or 3 extra, they could improve again.
I would love them to improve, but I have to tell you right now, and I've got it in the neck for it, and well, it's just another the nature of this show. The teams out with Celtic and Rangers, obviously Rangers we know have to improve as well, but out with that they've got to get better, and I'm not talking about closing the overall gap in Celtic, which everybody wants them to do. We want to see a better league. But the performances to even get into Europe, Ruffy, are absolutely woeful. And people are talking about, our standards getting better. No, it's not. You only have to look at the evidence. Something needs to change in the mindset of some of the clubs.
Well, the proof in the pudding is when they all go into Europe and they all get knocked out in the first prelim. They haven't done anything for the last 4 or 5 years. They haven't longer than that. Well, Hearts had the wee run, and they were on a high at that particular time. But everybody else has failed. Getting beat against teams from Malta and the likes. So yeah, you would like to see them all improving and getting better. But as we're sitting here talking, Rangers and Celtic are going to get better. So what do they have to do?
I know.
To close that gap?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. Somewhere along the line, I'm watching it. We've got an SFA coach in here in Tam. Somewhere along the line, somebody is going to have to readdress the situation with Scottish players again, because it's going the same way. There's very few Scottish players kicking a ball in the top flight. It's changing again. It's going back to, yours was a slightly different set of circumstances because Rangers were throwing money, willy-nilly all over the place, and you're a Scottish player in that side hoping that you're going to get a game in the team, and then he goes and signs a world-class player. The other aspect of it is some Rangers players were able to get a game because there was a 3 foreigner rule, but somewhere along the line you're looking at saying, okay, we know we can't hold on to good Scottish players because they're cherry-picked to England, but there needs to be some others that are given an opportunity rather than the situation where Motherwell dumped out. I mentioned the Swiss team last week to you, and you took a little bit of umbrage on it. The reason why I mentioned that Hearts should have beaten FC Zurich is because Zurich weren't that great a side. Hearts should have beaten them over the 2 legs. I watched it. They blew it, you know?
Yeah, no, listen, it was in a kind of cup tie atmosphere. You would expect Hearts to win that game. I agree with you in that score, but I read somewhere recently, and I suppose there's this element to it as well, that a lot of the young Scottish players that haven't made the first team are taken away from the clubs at that point. So the 2 Celtic ones going to Bayern, and some from Dundee United going down south, and they
goes to Liverpool.
They don't even reach the first team level before they're taken away. So sometimes, unfortunately, the Scottish teams can lose some of their jewels way too early. And maybe that's got an impact on the level of the players in the team.
And the flip side of what you're saying as well, Peter, and I think Motherwell now is a great example of this. You know, Stuart Kettlewell, I'm sure it'd be great if we could get some of the young boys coming through, and Motherwell certainly are now the worst.
No, exactly. I agree.
Of course, right? But Stuart Kettlewell will be thinking as well, this guy scored 25 goals for us that we're going to lose. He was plucked for the lower reaches of English football. We were sitting talking about him at the game on Saturday, and boys were about, you end up looking up on your phone to see exactly where he had come from. He was, you know, it was yet another one of these guys that come, I think it was like, was it Scunthorpe, maybe? Yeah, right. And nobody knew about this guy. He sounded the part. It was almost like the Jean-Claude Van Damme, you know, great name, Kevin Van Veen. He sounded like a winner. He sounded like a pin-up player. The fans absolutely love him, and he get 25 goals this season. So right away, you know, who would be a manager? Because you're thinking, right, am I going to bring, there's apparently a kid there coming through, he was in the academy and all that, I think I could give him a chance. But here's a boy that a scout tipped me off about doing at Colchester, and he says he could be another Van Veen. Who are you going to go with?
Well, the other big problem that Tam McManus has mentioned is that there's apparently in that Hibs youth policy some really good players that played against Dortmund. You know, I think it's under 18, under 19 level, and will they get a shout, Ruffy? Will the Hibs fans be sitting there saying, and you know what it's like, if some managers have been sacked after 7 games, one after 19 games, you know, and if you can't turn it around quickly, you're going to look and say, I'm not playing a Scottish player.
Yeah, the other thing I'd be interested in seeing the Premier League, which team in the Premier League has got the most Scottish players in the first team. I don't know who it is, but if you have a think about it, I don't know which team it would be. You know, just looking through all the teams who have got all the foreign players.
That's one for the viewers. There's always one at home that has got that info at hand.
We did at the start of the season because it was something I was paying particular attention to, and Motherwell were up there with a good 4 or 5 at the time.
Yeah, at the time.
You know, and it's dropped off.
I do think though, I mean, if you're being smart about it as well, more often than not, bigger clubs are looking for new talent, 16, 17, 18, maybe even 19. So if clubs like Motherwell have got a good player who's 17, 18, they put him in the team and he plays games and he does fine, interest generates, and you know the times to sell, you know, you've only got a window of opportunity maybe until they're 19, 20, and it kind of drops off a wee bit.
It would appear the note for Motherwell, certainly that's Max Johnson, you know, who has really caught the eye. A player that's been reared by Motherwell, and
he'll be off in the
somebody. Well, again, it seems to be there's a different club every week, hugely interested in him. But again, that is the model. At Motherwell, ideally, I think it was under it was either Stuart McCall or the Craig Brown, or perhaps both era. But the kind of word apparently for the board to the manager at the time was, we're looking for you to sell one player per year, somebody we will get big dough for, you know. And didn't always happen, certainly didn't always happen under the Stevie Robinson era, but obviously Davy Turnbull was one we've still get stacks of that money in the bank. That was superb, but you need to be looking at more and more of that, and fans accept that, you know. I mean, even when you think of a blip like this season for Motherwell, we did think we were going to go down. You know, I think if you've got half a brain, you'll think, well, you know what, we you know, these things happen in Scottish football. We were saved twice, thanks to Brockville, and then thanks to league reconstruction. You know, some of it was our turn to go down this year. But I think fans are realistic, and And the good thing is as well, I think young guys, if it is young guys we're forced to play, if Van Veen does go, which he will, and we chuck in a guy who's been scoring a few goals for the reserves, then at least at Mull I do think he'll get a chance.
Yeah, well, let's hope so, and let's hope we see a lot more Scottish players getting a chance across the board in the Scottish Premiership. Interestingly enough, we mentioned there about Rangers and Celtic playing at the weekend. Neil, Rangers have got a couple of qualifiers to get over to get into the group stages of the Champions League. And news out today gives you an insight into what Celtic could be facing. They're one of 8 clubs already guaranteed Champions League group stage football, as our reporter Kerry Pollock found out.
Celtic clinched their second title in a row under Ange Postecoglou on Sunday, which means they are guaranteed at least 6 games in the Champions League group stages. As well as the Scottish champions, 7 other teams have qualified for group stage football, including Serie A champions Napoli, Premier League leaders Manchester City and challengers Arsenal, German giants Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, along with Barcelona and Serbian side Red Star Belgrade. Ange Postecoglou's side will likely fall into pot 4, where they will come up against some of Europe's elite. Last season, Celtic's group consisted of Real Madrid, RB Leipzig and Shakhtar Donetsk. Meanwhile, Rangers could find themselves in pot 3. However, they'd have to compete in 2 rounds of qualifiers as they did last season, beating both USG and PSV. For Celtic to advance to pot 3, they'll be hoping that more than a few big hitters exit the competition in the qualifying rounds. This year's Champions League draw will take place on the 31st of August, with fixtures running from September to December. After last season's campaign, Celtic earned around £25.6 million, a sum that would increase the more points that are earned. Which of Europe's top sides would you like to see make the journey to Celtic Park?
Yeah, pot 4. Not exactly great going. It's 3 hard hitters, more than likely, Ruffy.
Yeah, but I think Celtic are bought into, just enjoy it. Enjoy the teams, enjoy the visit, and enjoy the different countries you're going to go to. And if the football comes to the top, then you do get a chance to be second in fair dues. But I don't think the Celtic supporters put the Celtic team under any pressure at all. There wasn't any big drop out for the poor group that they had. Yeah. So any improvement in that would be a bonus.
The one thing that's the key in any competition, it's points and prizes, and points usually mean money. The title is done now. The Scottish Cup's the only thing to play for. But for the other clubs, I think it's really good trying to finish third. The battle for 4th. There's also the bragging rights in Edinburgh, which I know only too well. Hearts and Hibs fans want to, brag about finishing above them in the league. So I just wonder, Lawrence Shanklin reckons that battle for 3rd, which they were in the box seat for so long, might just be beyond them.
Probably, aye, because the situation we were in. But what I will say is, before the World Cup, we were 8 points behind or something, so it's been kind of up and down. Over the course of the season, when we've finished all the fixtures, if we're not in 3rd, then we've not been good enough for the full season. It will not come down to a certain point or certain games. It will come down to the full season, and that'll be the case. But we're still hopeful, believing what we're doing, and obviously we've got important games coming up, so let's come in them.
Yeah, they have got important games. Away to St Mirren, at home to Aberdeen in the second game there. Then Rangers away, and then it's Hearts Hibs on the final day of the season, which I don't know about you. That's brilliant.
Well, already, I mean, I don't know the ramifications and try to top up the points, etc. But if it got to the stage where Hearts were needing a result against Hibs to pip Aberdeen on the last game of the season, I mean, joy of joy, suddenly you find if you're a Hibs fan, you've really got something to play for.
Yeah. What if you're a Hibs fan going to Tynecastle needing to win to get 4th, Tam?
Well, exactly.
That's feasible, because there's only a point behind them.
Yeah, I know. Well, all we'll say then, I've said it for weeks, is God bless the playoffs and the split, because it has really, I mean, Motherwell Kilmarnock there, leave out Kevin Van Veen for a minute and his wonder goal, that would have been a damp squib ordinarily. Kilmarnock brought up 1,825 fans. There was a brilliant atmosphere inside the ground. You knew it had meaning. For the Killie fans, of course, pig sick at the loss. Motherwell fans, you get a wee bit of enjoyment out of that with the rivals, and see you later, we'll meet again, and all that stuff, So this has all been this has all been absolutely brilliant, and I mean, I wasn't old enough to remember, but Ruffy would even have played when you did have that maybe 18 team league, and for maybe even, I'm guessing for March, you might have had a load of fixtures in the middle of that league that were more or less pointless, you know. So yeah, it's been great, and these fixtures now, they're going to be absolutely dynamite.
Yeah, absolutely superb. Looking forward to it.
And at the bottom end as well, mind. I mean, you missed out at the bottom because
I was just about to talk about it.
Sorry, it's a three-team fight, and what a fight it will be.
Well, give me your bottom two. We've already said I think it's going to be Kilmarnock relegated, Ross County playoff.
Right. Well, you know, everybody was. I was thinking, you know, I wonder if Ross County were down and out and they get thumped by Hearts, of course, 6-1. That didn't seem quite like Ross County at this stage of the season. But they bounced back against Livy. But then you're saying, well, if Livy put the tools away, they're one of the teams that find themselves with nothing really to play for. So it's a hard one to call there. You know, Jim Goodwin having his recovery period at Dundee United, but then of course, what? But then of course St Johnstone coming and they over, and they'd been I'm just telling you the point, there are loads and loads of ways you could go with this. I do not have a clue. I'm just delighted that Motherwell got out the way of it, and if St Johnstone come up with the readies in a bag before the game at McDermott Park, St Johnstone against Motherwell on Saturday, I would like to think we'll give them the points.
Yeah, okay. Hugh's taking us out for a meal because we're about to declare on him losing the predictor.
Great.
So, what's your bottom two?
Right, okay, my bottom two, Ross County will finish bottom, and Dundee United will be in the playoff.
Right. Neil Murray.
County the bottom.
Right.
And I might agree with Tam in this score because the Ayrshire Kelly have got good home form, I believe, and they've got 3 home games, so they might just do enough.
Dundee United in the playoff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ruffy, where were you? Were you with me?
Still Ross County, Kilmarnock. I've been Kilmarnock all year.
Kilmarnock bottom.
Yeah,
Ross County playoff.
I do think they've got a wee advantage, as Neil said. They're having 3 home games out of 4 left.
All right, okay. We will find out. Give us your thoughts on that as well. Ruffy, I know it's going to be nervy for you tonight, because do Partick Thistle need to have a significant lead or a couple of goals to defend for the Friday return leg in this playoff?
Well, you always want a couple of goals. You
know, are they the better side?
I think at the moment, I think they've got the momentum. You know, obviously the Queen's Park boys will have to get their heads around what happened to them last week. You know, it depends on the character of the players that they've got. I think they've got quite a lot of experienced players. I think Thistle beat them 4-0 at Firhill the last game they played, but I don't think that'll matter for anything. I just think Thistle have got it right. They know that they've got a full squad apart from one player, Harry Millen. But the full squad for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 games, same back four, same midfield, same striker, and I think that's good. That's the strength you want. You want to go into a game with confidence rather than looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, I was reading Oni Coyle's playoff record. He's a master tactician at it. Didn't quite work out for them in what I thought was the best championship game of the season, Queen of the South against Dundee, Queen's Park against Dundee. It was brilliant to watch. Yeah,
it was a cracking end of season finale for Dundee, certainly has been the winners. You know, I think from what Ruffy tells me about Partick Thistle, having a settled team and the same team on the pitch every week, I think it counts for a lot. And how will Queen's Park bounce back against a disappointment? Because effectively they tripped themselves up. They were top of the table for a period of time, and they've slipped up of late in the last few games. So that'll be an interesting tie. And as the season's been, each team is capable of beating each other in the championship.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, Tam, but it's absolutely mental to suggest this. Obviously, I think Partick Thistle will win over the 2 legs, but maybe in the game plan and the strategy and the financial plot that Queen's Park have, I think they'll be looking and saying to themselves, okay, it'd be great to get up, but maybe it's just a season too early.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they have invested heavily in the club, and they've got Lord Willie Hockey behind them. They brought in Leanne Dempster as chief executive. They were able to buy players as well. You know, so it's changed days obviously for Queen's Park, and you're right, I don't know what the plan was. Were they looking to go up there? Maybe they were, but they brought in Owen Coyle as well. You know, I mean, maybe they were looking to go up this season because maybe think there wasn't a hell of a lot of competition in that league. But I'm not so sure they'll rest in their laurels and think, well, we had a good year, let's try again next year, because what a chance they've got. Even they had a great chance, obviously, when they took the lead at one point last Friday night, and you thought, wow, Queen's Park in the top flight. You know, Dundee, I think, over the piece deservedly won though. But what I'll say about that is, and it's a bit like here, I'm comparing Partick Thistle Queen's Park to Man City, Real Madrid, but it's my point that I've made about these games for a while. It's the second leg that counts, you know, and I don't even think you're saying the Partick Thistle need to score a couple of goals or whatever tonight. Unless either of the teams scores 5 goals, then it's all going to go to the second leg Friday. Is it Friday night? Yeah, that's where it'll be. And I don't know, will Partick Thistle really worry about going and playing not officially away from home at Oakleview, and correct me if I'm wrong, but they're going to have a much bigger support than Queen's Park, you know, so I don't think that's going to feel like an away game.
You think this
for the Jags? I think I'll stick my neck out and say there's something about this story that I've loved, and I don't think it's finished yet, and I think Queen's Park will go through in this tie.
Yeah, look at the look Ruffy just gave you there, by the way. It was just a stony-faced contempt.
All about opinions.
Yes. Also, got to mention Ayr United second place. It's incredible. You'd never have, on the Friday night, before the Friday night games, would you ever thought Ayr would have been second?
Fair play to Lee Bullen. He's just kept quiet. He's not really been at the forefront of we're going to do this, that, and the other. And suddenly they find themselves with not as many games. What?
Ayr Kilmarnock. Playoff game.
That would be nervy, wouldn't it? And a penalty in the last minute.
Is there no VAR for those games, or is there?
You should just avert
that's a good point.
See, if it was, you should avert our one leg and just put it to Hampden. See what sort of crowd you get. That would be magnificent.
I mean, you could fill that. I mean, that'll be unbelievable if it is a playoff. Nervy as well. Alloa against Hamilton. I spotted John Rankin the other day there. Always good to see John. He's finally got himself in a position that I think he maybe thought he wasn't going to. If you'd have said to John, you know, a good few weeks ago, by the way, playoff, would you take it? It'd absolutely bite your hand off.
Yeah, they haven't had a great season. You know, they had a wee bit in the season that they did they were hard to beat, you know. I don't know what the difference is in the two divisions, you know, but Brian Rice has been through it quite a lot, you know, so a lot of experience getting into that game.
Is there a wee bit of needle from
most definitely. He's been obviously at Hamilton, and then I don't think he left in very good terms at all, but it would be a bit of a nightmare if Hamilton go down another division, and that's too big a slide in such a short space of time.
Not a great fan base, you know, as well. It's not a huge fan base to actually, I mean, I think it's down to the whole board that actually prop Hamilton Accies up.
Yeah, that's true, and I think, as Ruffy said, it is quite a League One's a competitive league as well. There's no givens that you go straight back up from League One. There's a lot of good teams in that this season, and I don't know the real difference between the quality in the leagues, the top part of the League One and the bottom part of the Championship. Is there a great difference? Not sure, you know, so it's, if Hamilton went down, it'd be disappointing for them, I think.
Alloa or Hamilton?
Hamilton.
Yeah,
I'm going with Hamilton. I'm cheering for the fellow Lanarkshire team. By the same token, I'll be cheering for Airdrie. They're in the playoffs, of course. They're looking to come up to the Championship, and by the same token as well, no harm to the Spartans, but I'll be cheering for Albion Rovers all the way. You know what it's like growing up in these parts, Peter. Albion Rovers was part of the fabric of your football. Everybody always knew about Albion Rovers. I went up to watch them as a kind of neutral when Partick Thistle beat us. It was 11-1. You remember that League Cup tie? Tommy Gemmell was the Albion Rovers manager. They played it at Fir Park, but you know what, the Lanarkshire Cup, when it was in its heyday, it was quite a big deal when you were a young Motherwell fan, you know. They were the 4 teams always took part. So
you're sticking Hamilton and Airdrie?
I'm hoping that Hamilton, Airdrie and Albion Rovers have smiles on their faces at the end of the season.
Okay, I'm going to take Falkirk for the game against Airdrie.
Falkirk and Dunfermline getting up that division would make that division fantastic next year, particularly because of a bit of atmosphere at the games, the attendance, the supporters they bring. It'll be fantastic, and it'll be a really hard one. If you don't get out of that championship this year, it's going to be harder next year.
Well, are you going for
Yeah,
that?
Falkirk. I think Falkirk have done a great season.
Falkirk, okay.
Going back to the Albion Rovers, two things about the Albion Rovers.
Yeah.
It's one of these strange pitches where you actually walk up the stairs onto the pitch, where it used to be.
That's right, yep.
And the second thing is one of Tam's former favourites, John Spencer, claimed he saw a rat in the dressing room.
Yeah, that was just a teammate.
You got a Farholder on the board now.
Hello, Ruffy, you still there?
No, I remember we played Albion Rovers with Thistle a long time ago, and I remember after the game we went into the showers, and one of the players fell through the flare in the showers. All you can see was his head.
I'll tell you as well, because a lot of folk forgot he was there in the real latter stages of his career, but in Andy Ritchie's book, which is magnificent, he's got plenty of tales of Clifton Hill and Albion Rovers as well. It's just one of their kind of cuddly toy stuff of Scottish football, but what they need to remember, and for that wee hardcore, and you keep forgetting, you know, every club's got their hardcore supporters. Albion Rovers were able to float about there at the very, very bottom end to Scottish football because there was no trap door. Very fact it's in there now, you fear that like Cowdenbeath, East Stirlingshire, etc., they could disappear. So that is a huge game, and I think if ever they get the right time to get a guy with his experience, somebody like Sandy Clark in, who is now manager, I think that can only be a good thing, and I wish them well.
Yeah, absolutely. Just one little point before we talk about the Champions League tonight, which is mouth-watering, Ruffy. We've got to play our game of tennis, win it, and then go home and watch the game. So if you could bring your A game tonight instead of your Z game from last night.
A bad night last night.
Oh, we get battered.
Just one of the nights, you know, you just couldn't get it together.
We get battered with two 20-year-olds, and he's an inch away from the net and still managed to hit the net. I just looked and I thought to myself, and as a team player, Neil, I was understanding. I just shouted at him, "What the what are you doing? You know, have you ever done that to your teammates?"
It's good when anybody plays tennis. Obviously, at the front, you're at the front of the net, and your mate's behind you.
Yes.
When your mate's behind you, you can make whatever face you want at the front. And he can't see you.
I don't know if there's a logic in this. I think it was the old Ali McLeod logic. He'd rather lose 6-0 in one game than 1-0 in 6 games. So maybe Ruffy getting his bad game out. He can bring his new game.
Do you want me to tell you something? That's all well and good, Neil, but not when you're playing two 20-year-olds who are high-fiving each other and giving each other claps and everything for the odd shot.
Beat them the last
I could see.
Well, we got a draw with them the last time.
I could see that was annoying you. That was really. It was really. He needs to have one of the blank moments where it doesn't annoy
Just out of curiosity, were you a good loser?
To be fair, I didn't really lose very often.
Yeah, you're really doing my head in.
If we did lose, I think you've got to accept it, because sometimes you lose and you learn from losing.
Yeah. Can I just say something to you? On the standard of players that you played with in that Rangers dressing room, I bet you if they lost, they were in kicking everything and going mental.
That was what?
McCoy doesn't even like losing at 5-a-sides. What chances you got at 11-a-sides?
Well, sometimes he did moan.
Yeah.
That's true.
Absolutely. I can see you going back there in time thinking about that dressing room.
Anyway, the question we're going to ask, which I've got a dilemma with, is either Real Madrid and Manchester City or Partick and Queen's Park. With the poster on at the same time.
Are they on at the same time? Yeah.
Oh, I know, that's a wee bit of a shame, isn't it? I feel, you know.
We had the discussion last
But you know
week.
what, I'm going to remind all the Partick Thistle fans and the Queen's Park fans that a bit like your own game, nothing will be decided with Real Man City until the second leg. So ignore that tonight and enjoy your own
You're
teams.
not many going to get into the Stenhousemuir one.
We had a discussion about this last week.
Yeah.
I would genuinely rather watch a Scottish game.
Absolutely.
There's the interest, the genuine interest in it.
Well, you could tape both of them and then watch both of them.
You know, watch two of them at the same time.
Well, you can slick about. Aye, but the one thing I'll
two
say...
tellies, Ruffy. Is there any chance you could stop distancing yourself from our audience, by the way?
Partick Thistle Queen's Park game, of course, is live on the BBC. Peter,
You've done a bit of work for them, haven't you?
Yeah, it's live on the BBC. And
We did mention the Gothenburg the other day.
Yeah, absolutely. Some great documentaries coming up, great stuff coming up, and there's great. It's a wee bit. I hope the Aberdeen fans really enjoy it, because you love times like that. There's a great event. I think it's on Saturday coming up actually, Pittodrie, and is it this Saturday? Are Aberdeen at home this Saturday?
It's Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
Yeah.
Actually at the stadium with the fans getting in and all that.
Oh no, I thought you were on about the Gothenburg.
Aberdeen at home on Saturday. This Saturday
yes.
coming, maybe it's taking part of that, but what a great time to rejoice and look back in a time.
Absolutely, 40th anniversary.
What I want for you two is, I agree with you. We were talking about it as we left the studio last week. I will be watching Partick Thistle Queen's Park tonight, no doubt about that.
Yeah.
I'll get the half-hour highlights at midnight of the other game, but I need you guys, because I know nothing about the Champions League at that level. Man City, Real Madrid. My bet for the night. What do you reckon? Give me a couple of pointers.
Okay, I'm going to go.
For Man City, Real Madrid. Who's at home?
Madrid
in the first leg at
Madrid
home.
to win by the odd goal in 3.
Okay.
So there's the fixtures. This is the Tuesday and Wednesday. Real Madrid, Man City, AC Milan, Inter Milan, which doesn't really matter. They're playing at the San Siro. But I'm going to suggest to you that Real Madrid will win it 2-1.
Right.
Rafi, are you in there?
No, I'm going to go for a draw. I think Man City have got a draw. I think Real Madrid have been off the boil a wee bit now.
What?
They're losing games.
They've been off the boil in the Champions League. They've been magnificent.
In the Spanish League, they're losing games that you wouldn't think they've got. So, and I've said to you, right, and I know Celtic get whopped.
Yeah.
I think you can have a go at Real Madrid. If you get quality players, you'll get chances.
Oh, I think you can have a go at them.
You've got to take them, but
Liverpool thought they could have a go at them, and after 14 minutes, 2-0 up, and I thought, oh, this is magnificent, and then they just come back and battered them.
I do fancy Real Madrid at home, to be honest. Manchester City are a great team, and they entertain, they score goals, but I think they've also got a shaky performance in them somewhere down the line as well.
It's funny you should say that. Listen to this clip. This is Pep Guardiola talking about the ambitions of clubs and their spending attitude to win the Champions League.
I would not like to have a team like we win the Champions League one day and after stay 10 years without playing the Champions League, or go down and down. There are clubs in Europe that invest and make a crazy thing just to win the Champions League. And after that, they don't win the Champions League and the leagues go down and down. So be stable is the most important thing as a club.
Yeah, it helps when you.
when you've got billionaire.
I don't know if anybody goes in there and actually listens and said, if I was in that press conference, I'd have said, Pep, calm your jets, son. You've spent £1 billion trying to win the Champions League with Man City. Ruffy, he's got to deliver this year. If they don't win this year, somebody's got to turn around and say, come on, you've had the best striker, that's the last bit of your jigsaw, you've got to win it this year.
Yeah, I think he knows that as well. I think he's heard the sound bites from around, that how good are you, this is the time to prove to everybody that you are as good as what you think you are.
Who are the teams that he's talking about, incidentally, that just chucked it to win the Champions League and then faltered?
Might have been Barcelona.
Go on.
It might well be Barcelona. Yeah, because of the debt they're in. But I mean, the other ones are pretty much.
Paris Saint-Germain spent millions upon millions, can't win it.
Right.
But that's what he's talking. No, he's talking about people who've tried to do it as well. They've spent it and they can't do it. Chelsea's another one. Yeah. Who are you going for then?
How about when John Boyle came in at Motherwell? We had Champions League in our sights.
To be fair, we had some good players. I always remember Jed Brannan,
Don Goodman, B. John Spencer, Andy Gorham.
Yeah, I like Don Goodman. He was a good lad as well.
All getting about $5,000 a week. Crowd of 4,000.
You were going to say something there?
Yeah, you said who do you fancy for overall for the competition or just for the?
Well, tonight. Give us your tonight score. I've gone 2-1 Real Madrid.
I won't copy. 3-1 then.
3-1 Madrid.
Oh, one each.
I've decided I'm going to have I'll bet 2 draws, 2 singles and a double.
Yeah.
I think the 2 ties are going to be very, very tight. And I'll get, what again, that would be the Milan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would that just not be
See, before we go, Tam, can I
Yeah.
just say thanks, well done. It's a great gesture.
What's that?
We're all going out for a meal next week. It's a good.
We are with dear old pal of all of us, Murdo McLeod.
Yeah.
Who, boy, he's been through the wars.
Half, by the way.
And needs a wee bit of cheering up, shall we say. And he's doing a wee bit of celebrating as well, because this is the anniversary of him and Wim Jansen. Of course, starting 10 in a row at Rangers. So these should be happy times for Murdo. He's got a big club do coming up. So if you like us taking our old pal out for some grub and a wee glass of wine, that's like his pre-season training. We'll get him fit for his celebratory do.
Give him a huge lift, Ruffy. I always remember my impression of Murdo, fit as a fiddle. You know, always great
Play
fun.
Golf nearly every day. You know, good golfer. You know, and good at the dinners as well.
Brilliant.
Good company. Good company is the best thing in the lot.
Good to see him. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
we're looking forward to it next week.
Really looking forward to it. Well done, Tam. It was a good gesture to get him out there so we can have a bit of banter and slaughter everybody, Ruffy. Is that fair?
Why not? Usually
Particularly Murdo. He knows you've got like a dark, bleak humour, so he's going to get slaughtered.
Oh, exactly.
If he's not greeting by the end of the night, I'll be disappointed.
He's a moron. Quiz question, 4 players. Did you get them?
Right, you know what, I can see your answer. Obviously, knew right away with Michael Higdon, and I would have had a good shout at Darren Randolph in goals. He was outstanding.
I'm not sure you'd have got
but
those
see
two.
the two, nah.
Sean Hutchinson and Nicky Law.
Who was the rapid winger?
Nicky Law.
Ainsworth.
No.
Wee Lionel Ainsworth.
Aye, that's the one.
Yeah. Who terrorised Rangers in the playoff.
He'd have been maybe worth a shout for.
Yeah. Would you have got that? You wouldn't have got Sean
Nicky Law. I mean, Nicky Law's been to a few teams now, isn't he?
Also Chris Humphrey. Remember him?
That's the one.
That's who you're thinking of. Yeah. But that's a good 4, Tam, and a good team that was.
Yeah, it was a great team to watch, yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant. Again, you know what, I'll be the first to say, we don't have that standard of team now, and yet again, there's Kevin Van Veen, who actually scored more than Michael Higdon
Was there
did in
4
that team.
Motherwell players in that team?
Aye.
That must have been the year that Rangers and Celtic players decided not to vote for each other.
Was the gaffer Jim Gannon?
Just take a neutral vote.
Was the gaffer Jim Gannon?
No, that would have been Stuart McCall.
2013.
Because I remember Sean Hutchinson's first game, or one of his first games, was Stoy Bucharest at the Airdrie Stadium. Jim Gannon was the manager.
Yeah.
I thought it was right.
Let's not talk about Jim Gannon. He gets Tam.
Who won the manager of the year if you had 4 players in that team?
That year?
Did you do it?
I could probably get it to the Celtic or Rangers manager who'd won the league.
Yeah, who knows?
Rather than somebody to manage.
Yes.
To manage, had to wring every last bit of talent
And he's-
out of journeyman.
He's finished where he started. We've managed to get to the end of the show. Don't forget, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell if you want to get all the notifications of our unique content. There's some great stuff in there. In fact, sometimes our great content is then copied by other people who decided, or their bosses have decided, maybe you should have been doing that in the first place. So there's a great interview with David Martindale on there as a documentary. We've got Alex McLeish, 40 years of Gothenburg. We've got John McMaster. Alex also had a chat about Rangers, and over and above that we've got Neil Lennon. There's a 1-to-1 right now with Scott Brown as the Fleetwood manager, and of course on this show, thank you for your support. You get opinion, some you like, some you don't. We love the fact that you are with us and offering your own opinion as well. So from Ruffy, from Neil Murray, and of course from Tam Cowan and myself, Peter Martin, thank you for watching. Hit the subscribe button and we'll see you tomorrow.